What if I told you one of the teams playing at Paul Brown Stadium left in first place in their division today? Spoiler alert, it wasn't the Bengals. We'll discuss the week after losing QB1. Plus,
everything was shut down. Seemed like the world was ending, right? Everything was put on pause.
Press play. To steal a line from John Rothstein, Xavier basketball, hell in a cell. We'll talk about the Musketeers' return to the hardwood. And Joe Burrow has a long recovery ahead of him before we see him back on the field in orange and black stripes. We ask a medical expert about his knee injury.
From WCPO 9 Sports, this is Sports of All Sorts.
What up? Welcome to Sports of All Sorts. I'm Reggie Wilson. 2020 has been one of those years where you ask, what else could go wrong? Then you cringe because the question usually gets answered before you can think of the possibilities. The same goes for Cincinnati sports. After losing Joe Burrow, you might ask, what else could go wrong? We'll see that play out right before our eyes the rest of the season. You'd be hard-pressed to find anyone around the tri-state with any confidence in the Bengals right now. We'll show you how things played out today, but we start with QB1. A long recovery ahead for Burrow after tearing his ACL, MCL, and suffering other structural issues with his left knee. The soon-to-be 24-year-old quarterback will have surgery at some point in the near future. Bengals head coach Zac Taylor was elusive on when Burrow will return specifically, but said he expects him to be back for the 2021 season. The number 7 Bearcats football team did not play this week. UC was scheduled to take on Temple Saturday, but officials called it off because of positive COVID-19 cases within the program. This is the second Bearcats game to be canceled this season because of COVID. The team will be back in action on December 12th against Tulsa to wrap up the season. The Buckeyes game against Illinois also canceled due to COVID concerns. Head coach Ryan Day tested positive, and then things snowballed from there. It's the second time in the last 3 weeks OSU has had a game called off. Ohio State is currently number 4 in the country in the college football playoff debut rankings. 3 up, 3 down. Xavier started the season with back-to-back games and came out with a dominant win over Oakland and gritty wins over Bradley and Toledo. The Musketeers featured a new starting 5 and several new role players. More on them in a bit, but catch X back in action on Monday against Eastern Kentucky at the Cintas Center. Back to the top story, Bengals back at PBS hosting the Giants in front of 10,000 fans missing Joey B. First quarter, after a New York touchdown, Brandon Wilson says, "I got us." 103-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, the longest play in Bengals history. Game tied at 7. Brandon Allen promoted from the practice squad and gets the start in place of Burrow. Rough day. Pass is tipped and picked off in the third, leads to a G-Men field goal. Let's go to the fourth. Giants up by 6. Offense trying to get something cooking. Allen hits Drew Sample, and it's not the Rona, but he coughs it up. That leads to another field goal, 9-point lead. It's not quite over yet, though. Allen hooks up with T. Higgins. That's the T, sis. Touchdown brings the Bengals within 2 points. They get the ball back with less than a minute left in the game, and it's hero time for Allen, right? No, it's not. He fumbles. Giants recover. That's the ball game. Bengals fall 19-17. 3 straight losses, now 1-13-1 in one-score games under Zac Taylor.
Playing hard for each other, and it's going to turn for us at some point. You know, that's why I told him it's frustrating. You're sick to your stomach. It sucks. It's not fun to lose, but we know that this tide is going to turn for us, and we're going to look back on this, and this was a necessary part of our growth. But we need to get some wins to show for all the work that we're putting in.
Well, back with me to talk Bengals is Bengals all-time leading scorer Jim Breach and former Bengals cornerback Rodney Heath. Fellas, how we doing?
Well, pretty well, Reg. How are you?
Good, good. All right. So how tough was that game to watch today?
You know, it's interesting. I know leading into games with Joe Burrow playing quarterback, I was excited to see the games. It didn't feel so much today that way. And it was tough. It was tough to watch him play offense, unfortunately. But you can also do some evaluating to see from an offensive line standpoint, find out what's going on with the receivers. A.J. Green It was almost like he wasn't on the field today. I don't think he had any catches. So some things going to happen, and find out what you need to do to build around Joe Burrow. And the offensive line stands out in terms of how well Joe Burrow plays compared to the other two guys so far.
Yeah, I wanted to see how they looked on the defensive side. I really want to see them step up the whole. Like, Jim was talking about on the offensive side. If you're going to get someone to step up, our receivers, they need to help out with getting the running game going. And you didn't get that also. But defensive side, I want to see them step up a lot more. Wish they did, keeping them under, 20 points. They have a chance to try and be able to win, but you got to finish it in the end.
All right, Brandon Allen, 17 of 29 for 136 yards, a touchdown, interception, and fumble lost. Anything positive to draw from his play?
Go
Go, Rodney.
I was going to say I thought he did enough to put them in position. I mean, for him to be in his first game really playing, in that situation, especially with Zach knowing him and being more comfortable with him, I think he gave him the opportunity. But, I couldn't expect him to do what Joe Burrow does.
Yeah, I kind of liked some of the things he did. He got rid of the ball. For the most part, got rid of the ball quickly. They weren't giving him anything down the field. It was a matter of continuing drives, and each time they got a nice offensive play, it seemed like they got a penalty to set them back. So you're playing from behind the game. They barely had the ball. I mean, they were doing out too many times, and it puts a lot of stress on your defense, and it's obviously hard to score when you don't have the ball.
And Rodney, I just want to ask, how did you like the performance of the defense? They, kept the team in the game.
I mean, like I said it before, I felt they did. They did some things that gave them an opportunity, especially with a new quarterback in and rhythm. The offense didn't really have the rhythm until they got to the end of the game. I felt like they did some things. Gave up big plays, tight end catching the ball over top. The guy played well. Those things you can't have happen. For the most part, in the NFL, if you keep teams under 20 points, I guess you can't be too upset about it.
Absolutely. All right, well, 5 more of these games left. We'll see if they got a win or 2 or maybe 3. We'll see what happens in the next 5 games. But, fellas, as always, I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Reg. Have a good week.
Good night, man.
You too. The 2020 football season will go down in history for the Bearcats for more than just what happened on the field. Coming up, we talk about this latest adversity with COVID and what this means for the team's goals as the regular season winds down. Welcome back. The Bearcats landed at number 7 on the first college football playoff rankings of 2020. Their game against Temple was canceled due to the Rona. Joining me to talk about it is Mo Egger. Hear him every day on the radio airwaves on ESPN 1530. Mo, what's happening? How you doing?
Reggie, how you doing, man? Happy Thanksgiving. What's going on?
Good, man. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. All right, Mo. So how tough was it? I saw your tweet on the weekend. How tough was it not to see the Bearcats play this weekend, knowing what they're chasing after?
I'm not really sure that they would have gained a lot from beating Temple in terms of where they are in relation to Texas A&M and Florida and the teams they're chasing. But I just like watching this team play. I certainly think they would have gone to Philadelphia, handled Temple easily. That's not a very good team. In effect, you only had something to lose by playing them. But they're off this week. And that's a scheduled week off. And so, for a team that was playing so well, you wonder about such a long layoff before they play Tulsa again, possibly back-to-back weeks. Now, they had 21 days between games when they went to SMU and played very well on both sides of the ball. But more than anything, I like watching this team play. I've enjoyed watching Desmond Ridder get better. I've enjoyed watching him really grow into the role of a big-time, major winning college football quarterback. And if you don't love watching this defense, you're not a football fan. I mean, so more than anything, I missed watching them play. I found other ways to make up for the void, but there was a void by them not playing.
Absolutely, yeah. It's funny. Desmond Ridder went from kind of a punching bag a little bit earlier this season till now. A lot of people are saying like he's not only a professional level quarterback, but a great college one as well. All right, so switching gears to hoops. All right, what did we learn about Xavier after their gauntlet of games to start the season?
I think we learned that Zach Fremantle is ready to make a little bit of a leap from year 1 to year 2. I think we learned that Dwan Odom is the sort of rim attacking, elusive ball handler guy who's able to get to the rim that he was made out to be. He's not settling for jump shots, and the word on him was he's not a guy who could shoot from the outside, so he's not. They're probably going to be a better outside shooting team because, quite frankly, they couldn't be any worse. We really didn't see that in these 3 games, but they're going to shoot the ball better. And offensively, there's a little bit more rhythm to what they're doing. There's a little bit more flow. The ball doesn't stop. And there were times over the last couple of years where when you think of Xavier basketball over the last decade, certainly under Chris Mack, the ball was always moving.
Right.
It was free flowing. The last couple of years, that wasn't necessarily the case. And so you're going to get better shots the better the ball movement is. It's probably not where Travis wants it to be, but I thought for the most part, I don't think they are as good as people said they were going to be after they whacked Oakland and Greg Kampe not calling a timeout. And I don't think they are as bad as some of the folks I've seen on Twitter would suggest because they struggled to win the 2 games against Bradley and Toledo. Obviously a work in progress, but I think if you're Travis Steele, you'll walk away from those first 3 games feeling okay about where your team is.
Absolutely. All right, Mo, so we stand 1 week from the Crosstown shootout. We haven't seen UC play yet this season. But what are you expecting from that one? Do you see X having any type of advantage, being that they've gone through a little bit of some adversity already this season?
Yeah, if everything goes according to plan, they will have played 5 games going into next Sunday. Cincinnati will have played 1. And obviously both teams have a lot of new guys. Cincinnati has 7. And I think there's a lot more uncertainty with John Brandon's team. I'm interested to really see if he's able to fully implement the offensive system that I know he can run so well because I saw it at Northern Kentucky. We really didn't see that last year. But yeah, look, I think if he was being honest, he would like to have another game or 2 behind him. Hopefully they play this game on Wednesday. But yeah, I think I've watched Xavier play, and I've watched Xavier play well, and I've seen them struggle but still figure out a way to win a couple of games. So I just think naturally I would give them the edge at this moment. But hopefully the Bearcats play against Lipscomb on Wednesday, and I have a little more to go off of than what I've heard from the newcomers and what I know they're bringing back, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And you kind of hit on it a little bit, but do you think that X, a lot of these role players are still kind of getting involved and, they had COVID kind of hit the program, so still not everyone in rotation like Coach Steele would like. But do you see them shooting better? Obviously, they probably won't shoot it like they shot at Oakland, but do you see them shooting much better this season than they did last year?
They were horrific. I mean, Travis Steele, I had him on my radio show, and he and I joked about it. They were a horrific outside shooting team last year. I just naturally expect those numbers to go up, the outside shooting numbers to go up. What I want to know with this team is, for as much as the season ended, I think, with a sour taste in every Xavier fan's mouth, with the way, they kind of petered out at the end, Travis Steele, before the season started, talked about how he wanted to have the best defensive team in Xavier history. Now, I don't know that happened, but if you look at some of the advanced metrics, it was actually their best defensive team they've had in a very long time. I think the Ken Pom defensive efficiency rankings, it was their best team since 2009. Don't quote me on that exact year, but they did get better. I want to know, because he's talked about, I hate to use this word because I hear it all the time from Zach Taylor, he's talked about wanting defense to be a part of Xavier basketball's culture. I'm not sure that 1 year being better on that end of the floor really does that, but I'm interested in A, can they guard as well as they did last year with a bunch of guys in different spots? And B, could they maybe even guard better? And if they did, and they're a better outside shooting team, then I think it's fair to expect them to overshoot their 7th place preseason ranking in the Big East.
All right, well, I always love following John Rothstein on Twitter because he always has all these punny things to say, and I'm a punny guy myself. So we'll see what happens Monday against Eastern Kentucky, and then Sunday in the Crosstown Shootout. Xavier basketball, hell in a cell.
All right, Reggie, thank you.
All right, thanks, Mo. We appreciate it.
You got it.
All right, so I want to hear from you. It's a simple question. Who wins the Crosstown Shootout? Tweet me at Reggie Wilson TV. Make sure to use the hashtag SOAS. Well, coming up, Joe Burrow is done for 2020, but what does that injury mean for his 2021? We ask a surgeon next. Welcome back. What a deflating week in Cincinnati as we learned that Bengals starting quarterback Joe Burrow tore his ACL, MCL, and suffered other structural issues in his left knee. My next guest has dealt with plenty of these type of injuries. Red's chief orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Timothy Krimchek. Doc, what's the recovery going to be like for Joe Burrow?
In my experience dealing with professional athletes for the last 25 years, most professional athletes that are especially as good and as accomplished as a Joe Burrow, as young as he is, realize, boy, this is awful. I injured myself. Tell me what it is. Tell me how we're going to fix it. Let's fix it so I can put this behind me and get on my way to rehabilitation. I don't want to think about the injury anymore. I want to think that it's fixed and what are the steps and what are the goals that I need to get to. This short goal, this goal, this goal, this goal, and then give me some carrot at the end of when I can be back on the field playing, because that's what I want to do. And so that's the process. There's going to be some ups and downs, some emotional changes. He's going to need some, people, mental coaches around him to help him, especially the down days, especially think about it. In March, April, when people aren't thinking about football, they're thinking about baseball in Cincinnati. He's going to be rehabbing this, and it's going to get boring and old, but he's going to have the right people around him with the right attitude. They're going to get him back on the field because he's really important, not only to the Bengals, but to the city. He really is.
So what's the timeline for Burrow's rehab? When might we see him back on the field?
He'll probably be in a brace after his surgical procedure for about 6 weeks. And then he'll do straight ahead activities and straight walking, strengthening for another 6 to 12 weeks. Then he starts jogging and cutting and twisting and more sports specific skills. So it's at least 6 months, most likely 9. And depending on what else is injured, it may be a little bit longer. That's okay for a young guy, as long as he's ready and he's in good position and this thing heals up properly, that he'll be able to continue to play. There's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL that have had this. Obviously, Carson Palmer had his problem. Tom Brady had a similar injury early in his career, had it fixed, and he's back on the field, doing what he's doing, probably as they call him, the GOAT. So there's a lot of optimism. It being as young as Joe is, it being as the type of competitor that apparently he is, he's going to find ways to motivate him. The Bengals will find ways to motivate him. And, my suspicion is that he'll be on the field playing for a long, long time. And that's good. Unfortunately, we've come a long way in medicine on how to fix these ACLs and these injuries, how to fix them arthroscopically. Sometimes you have to make some incisions, but more importantly, how to rehab them and how to safely rehab them before they get back on the field. So as bad as the injury looks, as terrible as it is, as sad as everybody is for Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals, the organization, I think hopefully, there'll be a silver lining and he'll be able to rest himself, get stronger, and be able to come back.
What's going to be the biggest hurdle for Joe as he comes back from this injury?
Always that fear that it's going to happen again. I think anybody who tears an Achilles, an ACL, dislocates a shoulder, you always, until you get back in that position where you've injured it the first time, you never know that you're going to be able to ride that horse. So you've got to get over that thought of defensive end coming in your blind side and getting hit again. Or you've got to get over that area of being scared and just naturally do it. Most people do. Most people have the right coaching, the right mental coaches, sports psychologists, all the different avenues that you would need in professional sports to help them get over these humps. But again, those are steps until he gets back on the field and gets in live situation where they're not putting a red shirt on a quarterback saying, don't hit him, that he's going to have to take those reps and feel that he can do it. We have to understand that it's so not doom and gloom. It's okay. Season cut short. but this is a guy treated properly. I hope to have him back for the next 15 years when I have my season tickets and I'm watching the Bengals and, playing the Browns and the Steelers and those big games and the fun stuff.
Dr. Krimchek, thanks so much for taking the time. All right, we'll be right back to wrap up the show. Welcome back. Well, 2020 has been rough for all of us, but it's the holiday season, so I hope that this weekend you found some reason to smile. Well, it's been real, it's been fun, it's been real fun, but we gotta go. I'd like to thank my guests Jim Breech, Rodney Heath, Mo Egger, and Dr. Timothy Krimchek for joining me tonight. And thank you to my village who helped me put this all together. Thank you for watching and enjoying this show on your holiday weekend with me. Let's do it again next Sunday. Till then, have a good night and a very blessed week.